Good morning and welcome to the Grow Omaha Show, the area's only economic development and commercial real estate radio show, brought to you by D&M Roofing and Siding and Dingman's Collision Center. Happy New Year, and I hope everyone's has a great but safe celebration while welcoming 2023. My fearless co-host, Jeff Beals, is taking the weekend off. While I'm talking about being safe, it is a perfect time to welcome my guest, Douglas County Sheriff-elect Aaron Hansen, who will be sworn in at 2 p.m. January 5th at 1819 Farnham in the Legislative Chambers. It's open to the public. First of all, Aaron, welcome to the Grow Omaha Show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Thanks for your continued amazing public service and stepping up to lead the Sheriff's Office.
Well, thank you. It's an honor. It is genuinely an honor to serve and protect the people of Omaha and Douglas County, and I look forward to continuing that in this new role.
And you've had 25 years of public service as a police officer and many other roles with law enforcement, correct?
Yeah, over 26.
Oh, wow.
Just shy of 26 and a half.
And thanks for having the guts and the commitment to keep our area safe. While I look forward to sharing your expert point of view and outlook on Omaha's public safety and your plans for the Sheriff's Office, as well as your expertise in many of the social services organizations that make Omaha a vibrant and great place to live, first, we have the economic development news of the week, brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. You know we talk about Eagle Mortgage all the time, and Eagle Mortgage, what they do is they shop the different mortgage companies. They're a mortgage broker to get you the best deal, and they have a lot better way of getting you the best terms, because a lot of banks and other places that you go to only use one source or a couple sources. Eagle Mortgage will shop your loan. They've been in business for over 30 years. They're licensed mortgage brokers in Nebraska and Iowa. Free consultations. Get pre-approved conventional VA and FHA loans. They're on the corner of 114th and 114th and Davenport, just south of 114th and Dodge. You can find them online at eaglemortgagecompany.com. Holly and her team do a great job. Well, CoStar provides us with national news, data analytics, and all kinds of information regarding economic development and commercial real estate trends. Nationally, industrial demand is on pace to make 2022 the second strongest on record as businesses grabbed warehouse space for most of the year, even in the face of economic concerns about a potential global recession. The United States is headed towards surpassing 400 million square feet more space leased this year for just the second time after 2021's record-shattering 518 million square feet of net absorption, according to Brandon Zvek, an industrial analyst for CoStar's National Director of U.S. Retail Analytics. Industrial property sales are on track to reach their second highest annual total of all time after last year's $125 billion in sales, though buyers and sellers pulled back in recent months and amid worries of rising interest rates and a slowing economy. The good news, Aaron, is that locally, Omaha is a pretty conservative town, but we're seeing industrial parks, especially in Sarpy County and also northwest in Douglas County, and we lease them as fast as we can build them. And so we're excited about what's going to happen in industrial real estate in Omaha. It's stronger than the office market, but the office market is doing fine, and so is retail. Other economic development news: construction has reached the second floor of a future 6-story Hampton Inn on the southeast corner of 44th and Douglas Street. The hotel will be serve the growing Med Center area. Nearby demolition is about complete on both the former Monroe Meyer Institute and former Omaha Public Schools building. Those demolition projects will make way for a nearly $3 billion next complex and a 7-story administrative tower on the Med Center campus. Have you heard about this next project?
I have. Yeah, it's not only impressive, but it's going to be a job generator for a lot of people in our community to build that infrastructure.
Aren't they talking about 8,700 jobs, well-paying jobs, and thousands of construction jobs.
Yeah, I know the trade industry is very excited about that project as well as the Mutual of Omaha project.
So I think federally they're waiting for the final funding or whatever, but Omaha is going to be the first of 5. It's, I believe it's Homeland Security, and it's a teaching hospital, and the Med Center has done great things with curing Ebola patients. And if there's another pandemic or there's something, it's a self-contained hospital as well. So we cannot wait till that gets built. Omaha Public Power District is starting early preparation work for next year's planned widening of 156th Street between Pacific and Dodge Street. Actual construction will begin next year. The stretch of 156th Street will be converted from 2-lane rural road into a 4-lane divided thoroughfare. It's about time, ladies and gentlemen. And construction has started on the Warhorse Casino, which will be part of a Horseman's Park at 64th and Q Street. The casino will open in early 2024. Plans call for 800 slot machines plus table games. Operators estimate the casino will generate $150 million a year in revenue. It will be the area's 5th casino, joining Harrah's, Ameristar, Horseshoe, and Prairie Flower. No matter what you think about casinos, they certainly generate revenue, but it also comes with a weird element.
It does, and I just got done talking with the chief of Ralston PD, Chief Leonardo, and the mayor and their city council about how what can the sheriff's office do to help the city of Ralston stay safe in light of all that growth. It's going to be a lot of people coming through that area when that casino opens.
It'll be interesting. They're doing some road work there, but it'll be interesting to see whether it'll be enough. And also, New Street Properties of Omaha has sold a large retail building at 909 South 72nd Street to Caller Properties in Lexington, Kentucky. According to Investors Realty, tenants in the building include Kohl's Discount Store, an Aldi supermarket, and a Cavender's Western Wear store. And what we're seeing, interestingly, is Omaha is a stable market, and we're getting investors from around the world, but from the coast, and people look at Omaha. I get calls all the time from people that want to place money. They see Omaha as a kind of a safe haven compared to the Californias and Chicagos and New Yorks when it comes to investing in apartments, retail, and office buildings. And one of the things that really drew me in when you started your campaign, what was it, about a year ago?
Yeah, I'd say about a year and a half ago.
Year and a half ago. And Aaron Hansen called me up, ladies and gentlemen, and we had met each other at political functions and things like that. And he said, hey, I'm really concerned. I'm running for Douglas County Sheriff, but I'm really concerned about Omaha's built environment, apartments, office buildings, retail, and what are we doing to protect the assets of our community? Expand on that a little bit. What you're looking to do there.
Sure. Well, I think that the idea came about because of Chief Todd Schmader's focus on specialization in the Omaha Police Department. Long story short, he has a detective, Detective Sherry Gooley, who's in the burglary unit, and she was allowed to specialize in retail crime and retail theft and retail fraud, and that's really her focus right now. And so she's done great work. She's really put a dent in these groups that prey on the retail community, and that really left me with the belief that in law enforcement, especially in a county the size of Douglas County, if we can have more industry specialization, if we can have law enforcement specialists, even on an auxiliary capacity, that are the go-to industry expert for that industry, that have unique public safety or crime challenges or large volumes of people flowing through their industry, whether it's customers or residents or even, unfortunately, sometimes criminals. It's important, I think, to have those industry experts that people can call. Nothing is more frustrating than being in a business community and having to re-explain your nuances of your industry when it comes to crime or public safety to a brand new officer over and over. I think we can do better.
And there'll be habitual criminals, whether it's drug addicts or whomever, that will go into a building, strip all the copper or precious metals out of something, cause tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage for maybe $50 to $100 worth of copper, and it really affects that business.
And that's again where it comes down to the communication and having an industry liaison in law enforcement. So, for example, you're talking there about copper thieves, construction area thieves. It is a very small number of people in our community that are doing that crime over and over and over. Like, you didn't wake up this morning and go, I think I'm going to give copper theft a try. It's the same guy doing it over, getting arrested repeatedly by OPD, Douglas County Sheriff, getting a bond, getting out, and doing it all over again. So, I think if we can figure out who those guys are, I want to be able to grow the sheriff's office to really focus in on those repeat offenders when they're out under supervision, whether it's pretrial release or probation, not only to prevent crimes from happening again, but also help those individuals to rehabilitate and get better and get into the workforce. Don't be a predator on these businesses. Be an employee and a customer for these businesses.
Well, the economic development news took a little bit of a turn today, but at the same time, keeping safe properties definitely affects economic development.
Absolutely.
That was the economic development news of the week, sponsored by Eagle Mortgage Company. Go to eaglemortgagecompany.com, and we're going to take a short break. But when we come back, we're going to talk to Aaron Hansen, Sheriff-elect, and learn more about what he's done in the past and what he's going to do in the future in the office. You're listening to Trenton Magid and guest Aaron Hansen, sponsored by Dingman's Collision Center and Dingman's Roofing and Siding on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the Grow Omaha Show, the area's only economic development commercial real estate radio program, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. I'm Trenton Magid of NAI MP Dodge. Jeff Fields, my usual co-host, has the weekend off, and I'm joined by Douglas County Sheriff-elect Aaron Hansen. And while we're speaking about Dingman's Roofing and Siding, there's no such thing. D&M Roofing and Siding, they are family-owned. They've operated since 1965, provide roofing, gutters, siding. You can go to dandmroofing.com. Eric Obremt, president, who's been on this show, and even if they weren't paying us to say this, I got to tell you something. Jeff would never say it this way, by the way, so that's why I'm doing this, is I've used them for years. When they did my roof, they came in one day, tore it all off, next day put it all back on, the new roof, and not one problem since 2020. They're great on service work. Our family home, we had a small leak in the attic, and they came out the one day that it was warm enough to come out. And so I could not endorse them more, and D&M Roofing is the place to go. Well, Aaron, you have had a long 26-and-a-half-year career in law enforcement, but you weren't just a uniformed police officer. You've gotten involved in so many different ways, and I want you to give us your background of growing up in Omaha and what led you to today.
Sure, yeah. Born and raised in Omaha. My mom and dad's family are both from Omaha, down south Omaha. I grew up 44th and F Street. Went to Robbins Elementary for a bit and then St. Stan's. My dad moved us down to Houston for a few years, and luckily he moved us back. He got a job with Douglas County, actually, ironically. Douglas
Excellent,
County
nice.
And moved us back into the Florence-Ponca Hills area. Went to Nathan Hale Junior High and graduated from North High.
But it wasn't a magnet school back then, was it?
Sure it was, yeah. Yeah, I graduated in 92. That was it was a well-renowned magnet school at that
Excellent.
point. That's when Gene Haynes and Tom Harvey were both at the helm together, and they did great. Got hired by the police department when I was 22 years old, pretty young. It's actually the first time I ever worked west of 42nd Street. The
air wasn't thinner like people talked about.
That's right.
My dad grew up on 20th and Vinton, so he's a South Omaha boy too.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's my background. But I spent the first 3 years on uniform patrol. Spent 14 years on the K-9 unit, combating the drug cartels on Interstate I-80, intercepting gun loads and drug loads and money loads, and using the dog to help apprehend high-risk offenders in the city. Got promoted in 2014 to sergeant, spent time as a street sergeant, and then I was placed as a supervisor in the gang unit. Ultimately, I became a supervisor in the fugitive unit, where I am right now. I spent probably about 20 years of my career involved in leadership with the Omaha Police Officer Association, 6 of which was the president. Those were tough years. That's when we had to reform the pension plan, make tough choices.
And you did a great job on that.
Well, we had to balance the interests of the taxpayers and our.
There's a bunch of spiking that was of concern.
We had to get rid of spiking. We made that go away, and that was good because we had to rebalance the ship in terms of our funding and our sustainability, and we were successful in that.
Yeah, if things like that, if pensions aren't a win-win, somebody's going to lose, and it's just not sustainable.
And it has to be because when you look at retirement benefits, it's just like wages. In this competitive recruitment and retention environment for police officers, we've got a more savvy police applicant, whether it's a lateral or a new applicant coming in, and they are looking more at that full package because we're not only competing with law enforcement, we're competing with the private sector. And, we need to make sure we're competitive on those wage and benefit packages.
Well, and never has there been a time where the scrutiny on law enforcement, all, federal and local, is so harsh. And my thought is in any industry, whether it's clergy, whether it's private business, government business, whatever it is, there's bad apples, a small percentage that you don't see it coming. And the nefarious actions of one person, whether it's a police officer or someone else, that doesn't mean that the whole batch is rotten. And with social media and special interest groups and stuff, they love to use one incident and just blow it up.
Yeah, that it's unfortunate, and it's not only unfair, it's impacting our public safety, and it's impacting our ability to recruit and retain the most qualified applicants. And I think if you look at it, Douglas County is struggling with it just like Omaha Police Department is, and most agencies across the nation. They're struggling with just these record low numbers of applicants. And when I talk to young people, heck, when I talk to my own 20-year-old son, I hear consistently people they're afraid of that scrutiny. Not that they're afraid to be held accountable or professional, but I think people are just terrified, applicants, that if they do one thing wrong, even if it's a good-hearted mistake, it'll be blasted out all over social media, YouTube, the media, and they could be thrown into the political wood chipper.
And the cancel culture and everything. I mean, you're a guy who's busy and on all these committees and all these public service things, and then you still have time for your SID where you live to be on the board of your SID to work on the finances and things like that. And we see in the news, and recently there's been some real public type things where, I'm afraid to be on a board of a charitable organization because if something happens and out of my control, do I have any culpability? Do I have any liability and stuff like that? And I still volunteer and I still give to charities, but I'm more selective and more cautious.
Well, and I think that's the key. I think we need to have some good transparency, not only when it comes to government, but when it comes to our nonprofit community. I think we need to make sure that we know how these dollars are being spent, again, whether it's government efforts or nonprofit efforts, because, you're right. The stakes are high and reputations can be destroyed in a moment.
So I know one thing you're really passionate about, and you were the executive director of the Nebraska Center for Workforce Development. Talk about Project Reset and tools.
Sure. Well, the Nebraska Center for Workforce Development and Education it's a nonprofit. I think it's been in existence for about 6 years now. It was kind of the brainchild of Senator Mike McDonald, former fire chief here in Omaha and also president of the Omaha Federation of Labor. He identified a huge problem, and that is we had people retiring from skilled labor trades at a rate that exceeded the number of young people that are replenishing those same spots. And it's not only impacting those trades, it's impacting the contractors and our business community, because you need bodies to build our community. And so under the Nebraska Center, Tools was created to expose high school kids and junior high kids to skilled labor trade possibilities and careers. And Project Reset was created as a subset program to expose people with a reentry background, or maybe someone who's struggling with a record or some other type of problems in their life where it's not as easy for them to get and keep a job. And I think both of those angles are so crucial if we're actually going to continue to grow our community. We need both of those communities, whether it's high school kids or people who need a second chance to be able to thrive.
And you've been instrumental in Project Reset, and you hooked Jeff and I up with your executive director, and it's an amazing thing because if those people get out of prison or they're in a bad way, if you don't show them the way, or if they don't think that they can come back in and be a productive member of society, the recidivism rate is huge.
Yeah, and it comes down to mentoring. And mentoring is not just a box that you check. You talk to someone once every 2 months and see how they're doing. Mentoring has to be a commitment. And that's where Project Reset is so dedicated. They have full-time mentors. I mentor on a volunteer basis, and I can tell you a lot of the young men and some of the ladies that I've mentored, I have seen them come from struggling with their background, not having a driver's license, struggling with not having a good career, a good paying job, to today being able to take care of their kids, get their kids whatever they wanted for Christmas, have their own house, have their own apartment, have their own car. It's amazing, but you have to focus on the mentoring and building those soft skills that these employers need.
Absolutely. Well, it's time to take a short break. When we come back, you're going to have the Noddle Company's Economic Development Spotlight of the Week, and we're going to continue our discussion with Sheriff-elect Hansen. And you are listening to Trenton Magid and guest Aaron Hansen, sponsored by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding on 1110 KFAV. And welcome back to the Grow Omaha Show, the area's only economic development and commercial real estate program, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing. I'm Trenton Magid of NAI, MP Dodge. Jeff Beals has the weekend off, but I am joined by Douglas County Sheriff-elect Aaron Hansen. And Dingman's Collision Center, I have known them, the Dingman's family. That's their real last name. It happens to be perfect for their industry. I've had a number of cars worked on, and some of those accidents were not my fault. But it is family-owned and operated since 1996. 4 locations, Northwest, Midtown, Omaha Southwest, and Papillion. They have been chosen Best of Omaha in auto body repair every year since 2005. They also do mechanical work as well at 120th and West Maple Road. So restore your vehicle's performance with manufacturer-approved repair procedures. Maintain your manufacturer's warranties with certified repairs. So check out Dingman's Collision Center. Highly recommended. Well, it's time for the Real Estate Development Spotlight, sponsored by Noddle Companies. Here's an update on a couple of projects in the Builders District, which runs from Cass Street on the south to Cumming Street on the north, and 114th Street on the east to 17th Street on the west. So it's about a 33-acre development. Noddle Companies and Kiewit Construction are heavily involved and invested in that project area. We've talked about it before. The 4-story, 115,000 square foot hybrid timber building at 1501 Mike Fahey Drive has broken ground. The first floor will be retail or office space, and the upper 3 floors will be office tenants. That'll be a unique, modern building. There's also plans for a really cool and unique park in the Builders District, complete with a restaurant pavilion. The area will be very pedestrian-friendly, and this isn't trying to copy Exarban Village. It's not intended to compete with the Gene Leahy Mall, but it is going to be unique and timeless. The Builders District will be a nod to historic Omaha. The development will bridge the gap between the Millwork Commons on the north and the Capital District and the Old Market on the south. And that is your Real Estate Development Spotlight, sponsored by Noddle Companies. Noddle Companies is an Omaha-based full-service real estate company and development company, and can be reached at noddlecompanies.com. Well, Aaron Hansen, we talked about your background in the last segment, and starting January 5th, you are going to take over the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. How does it feel after a year and a half of campaigning, and you're in the trenches, and you made great alliances. You had amazing endorsements throughout the state, and congratulations for that.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm ready. I'm ready, and I'm excited. I think I'm walking into a great organization with a strong leadership team. I'm really happy with the selection I made for my chief deputy, current Captain Will Niemock. I have all the confidence in the world that he's going to lead us to make a great law enforcement agency, one of the greatest in the region. And I look forward to the partnerships. I mean, Mayor Stothert has been probably one of the best mayors in the nation when it comes to supporting public safety and making sure that we are promoting a safe community. Look forward to partnering with her, with Chief Schmatter, who I think will be a good peer to me, a good partner when it comes to public safety executives in Douglas County, but then also our policymakers on the state level. Senator Suzanne Geist, who I think is one of the premier law enforcement and public safety leaders, and senators like Senator Mike McDonnell. I think we need a good, strong, bipartisan approach to keeping our entire community and state safe, and I want to be an important part of that discussion.
It's so refreshing when we have adults and rational people in leadership, and you're definitely in that category. During the break, we were talking about unincorporated Douglas County, which you're responsible for. There's a lot of growth to the northwest and other places. You said there's 90,000 residents?
Yeah. So, during my campaign trail, I took an opportunity. Commissioner Mike Friend and I met with individuals in the Metro Area Planning Agency because I wanted to know what am I walking into in terms of growth, in terms of need, in terms of traffic flow. And I was surprised to find that, the part of Douglas County that is experiencing the most rapid amount of growth in both population and development, infrastructure building, apartments, residences, commercial, is the area that I will be responsible for in terms of the primary response for public safety, either calls for service, uniform patrol, or criminal investigative follow-up. That is unincorporated Douglas County. And so that really ups the ante for me. I have to make sure that we're keeping the people who live in that community, which, by the way, is me and my family, my parents who live in Ponca Hills. I have to make sure that we're keeping the Douglas County Sheriff's Office ready and equipped and staffed appropriately to keep them safe and to make sure that the businesses in those areas are safe as well. It's a crucial component and requirement of government.
So how does the Douglas County Sheriff's Office interact with the Omaha Police Department to make the city run smoothly?
Well, I can tell you that interaction is going to improve exponentially. We're going to see a lot more overlap with the Omaha Police Department, not to repeat things that we both do, but to help complement each other. So I want to make sure that especially when it comes to our patrol obligations in Western Omaha or unincorporated Douglas County, that OPD and Douglas County Sheriff's Office are helping each other out as much as they can. That city-county boundary line really should only mean something to our dispatchers and not to the public that may live on one side of that street or the other. So I'm going to make sure we have good, strong team effort there. But secondarily, I want to make sure the Sheriff's Office is on point and growing to the extent that we can help complement OPD in the areas that only Sheriff's Offices really can handle. And that specifically comes into that service to the court function. I think we have a lot we're leaving on the table when it comes to our supervision and investigation of our court-involved high-risk repeat offenders. I think we need to look and see what other communities across the nation are doing to not only prevent these individuals that are under court supervision or maybe pretrial release from committing new crimes, which keeps all of us safe, but also gives them an opportunity to increase their chance at rehabilitation. Might give them an opportunity to go into a problem-solving court if it shows they can be properly supervised, or maybe avoid prison, go to probation. Everyone wins if that happens.
Absolutely. Now, you campaigned with a number of priorities and plan. You had a whole plan on your website. You still do. And give us an idea of some of your priorities as sheriff.
Well, number one, like I said, priority number one is we have to make sure that those 90,000 people that live in unincorporated Douglas County are safe and that they're getting police services that are commensurate with the growth in that community and their need. Now, if you think of it, 90,000 people in unincorporated Douglas County are under the responsibility of the Sheriff's Office for primary patrol and investigations. If that was a city, that'd be the third biggest city in Nebraska. And it's actually, if you think of it, it's pretty condensed as well.
Does that mean Memorial Stadium, especially with their losing record, has gone down a couple notches?
I don't think I'll touch that.
Yeah, okay, good thinking. Give it a few years.
But I think, it's important that we step back and look at that. We need to make sure that those people that live, work, and play in that part of the county are safe. And number two, when it comes to the service to the court function, a lot of people don't realize it's the sheriff's office that has primary responsibility for keeping our judges safe, our courthouse safe, our city-county buildings safe. Douglas County Sheriff's Office security team, whether it's civilian security team or the sworn staff, those are the folks keeping our mayor safe, our city council safe, our county board safe, and all the people that work in those two buildings and that entire complex safe. And so we need to make sure we're staying on point and growing that to the extent that the need is growing as well. Because Nebraska has grown our courts. I think for the last few years, they've given us another district court judge, another county court judge, and that's great. We need those judges, but we also need to keep them and their courtrooms safe.
We always hear about Omaha being in the center of the country, obviously, child trafficking, human trafficking. That's a pretty scary thing when they say Omaha is a hotbed for that. Is that true? And what are you doing to address that?
It is true, and I can tell you that's another thing that Senator Suzanne Geist, hopefully soon Mayor Suzanne Geist, Mayor of Lincoln, and State Senator Mike McDonald and I are going to be working very heavily on in this next session. Human trafficking is not necessarily what you would conjure up in your mind. A lot of people, when they think human trafficking of young girls or teens, they think kids chained up in a storage container somewhere being shipped across the country. In fact, most human trafficking of young teens comes as a result of kids being chronic runaways and kids couch surfing and adult men and sometimes adult women predating on them, knowing they need someplace warm to sleep, something to eat. They'll provide them with drugs. And next thing you know, they have slipped into a human trafficking lifestyle where they're being driven across the country to different hotels or even here locally in order to be human trafficked to make money for criminal elements. It's terrible. It needs to be addressed. Thank God we've got great groups like Rejuvenating Women that are out there trying.
Yeah, I love that organization. We've had them on the show.
Address it. They're awesome. Julie does great. Julie Schrader does an awesome job. But I think it's incumbent on law enforcement. We got to up our game. A lot of those kids that are most vulnerable are those girls that are ages 14, 15, 16, and 17. And we have to find them as quickly as we can when they run away.
The other thing before we take our last break, I want to talk a little bit about mental health and the focus. You're seeing all these great organizations building new facilities, children's hospitals building a new facility. There's one on 72nd Street that's going up. And what more can law enforcement do to get involved in helping not just children, but also adults in mental health?
Well, I think there's a couple things. Number one, what law enforcement needs to do is to help educate the public and the policymakers more about the reality, the scope of the problem. Recently I took Brian Mastery with WWT and Commissioner Mike Friend. We walked down on the riverfront, down in the tent villages, to show them the reality of the mental health crisis and how these individuals are living in tents in the woods and on the street. People need to know the depth of the problem because you can't address it unless you know it. That'll also help us educate our policymakers. You might be surprised that in the United States, you are not allowed to have a mental health inpatient facility with over 16 beds, or else you lose Medicare, Medicaid funding. It's called the IMD exclusion, and it was done for the right reason decades ago to avoid the one flew over the cuckoo's nest type mass behavioral health type facilities. But things have changed, and we need to really look at it and figure what needs to change in our laws, in our community, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's behavioral health infrastructure, because we can't become San Francisco. And unfortunately, too many parts of Omaha, they are dealing with those tent villages, and that problem only grows if you don't address it.
Absolutely. Aaron, I'm so excited to see the advancements in law enforcement that you implement, and I'm proud to say I'm a friend of yours. I'm proud to say that Omaha is a better place for you being Douglas County Sheriff. When we come back, we're going to have the Turner Construction lightning round and talk about several things that are happening and progress and a lot of developments. And this year, how we started a lot of projects. And we'll be back in a couple minutes. You're listening to Trenton Magid and Aaron Hansen on the Grow Omaha Show, 1110 KFAB. Welcome back to the Grow Omaha Show, the area's only economic development and commercial real estate radio program. Brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing. I'm Trenton Magid. Jeff Beals will join us again next week. And I'm here with Aaron Hansen, who will be sworn in as your new Douglas County Sheriff on January 5th. It is time for the Turner Construction Lightning Round. Turner is building for the future with over 150 full-time Turner employees in the area, 40 of whom are local to Omaha. They are the group that, although they're one of the world's largest construction companies in Omaha, they act like a small company. They do all kinds of new buildings. They're doing the Sarpy County Data Center, which is like a square mile, billions of dollars. But they can also do your project, your building, your tenant improvements and things like that. They do a lot of programs for high schools and colleges and get people into the trade. So you could, if you're looking for a construction job, call Turner Construction. Well, Aaron, this has been a very busy year for development. Not only are we getting ready to start the new streetcar project and a $600 million 44-story office tower for Mutual of Omaha, but downtown, the Mercantile, the project on the north end of ConAgra's downtown campus, the first building to be known as the Brick Line, is about to open. An office building is planned just east of the Brick Line, other buildings on the drawing board. I'm sure there'll be some hotels and things like that. So downtown Omaha is becoming more vibrant. Out west, you got the Highway 50 Tech Corridor, and things are going on the riverfront, airport expansion, and plenty of retail projects going on. Well, that was a short last segment, but Aaron Hansen, I congratulate you and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show. Join us next week, Jeff Beals and Trenton Magid on the Grow Omaha Show, 9 a.m. on Saturday. Happy New Year, everyone.
If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.